you. And so quick agenda from the top. We're going to talk about mobile trends. I think it's important to understand what's going on in terms of how people are using the internet and what trends are relevant to us in business. I'm going to discuss millennials with Jared, as I just mentioned. I'm going to answer the question, what does mobile friendly mean actually, so that you can visualize. I'm going to show you how to test your own website to see if it's mobile friendly. I'm going to talk to you then about the options you have as a business owner, as a website owner, if you would, in terms of how to make your website mobile friendly if it fails the test. I'm going to introduce you to a phenomenal resource that I found while I was doing this research for you called the Google Playbook. And I'm going to give you a link to that later on so that when we're done, you can go out and read from the word of Google just exactly how important mobile is moving forward. And then I'm going to wind up a couple of announcements and we'll carry forth. All right, so let's get started. It's a whole new world. The reality is that Google is changing the playing field, and Google is constantly changing the playing field. We call them algorithm updates. And the most recent algorithm update that we're anticipating is on April 21st, and it's the mobile-friendly update. We know this because Google's made it pretty clear. Google themselves have declared that they will no longer show websites on organic search results to mobile users if those websites don't pass their mobile-friendly algorithm. So here's the thing. I sat in a webinar not long ago with Google at one of our partner connects, and Ian Carrington of Google said that in the UK, 51% of people have smartphones. He went on to say that their research from Google shows that 90% of all media interactions happen on screens, small screens, with 38% of those screens daily media interactions being on smartphones themselves. This beats desktop use for viewers. This means that the media or the medium cannot be ignored by the marketing fraternity. So this is somebody from Google making these declarations. He went on to say, and I love this quote, that there are now more people on Earth that have access to a mobile phone than have access to a toothbrush. Now, we have quite a few dental clients, and I think they'll get a kick out of that. Very interesting statistic. Google had been predicting for quite some time that mobile use of the internet or mobile use in search would exceed desktop use. They've been making those predictions for quite some time now. Well, that happened actually in 2014. It was the first year in the history of Google anyways that more people searched Google with a mobile device or a tablet than they did with a desktop computer. And this is one of the reasons why Google is making this huge push towards mobile friendly. Google's mantra has always been to make the internet a very valuable and very user-friendly, valuable experience for people. Google believes that if people enjoy the results that are returned in Google search and they're accurate to the searcher's needs, that people will continue to use their services. The trend that we're hearing about, of course, aside from just straight on mobile, when we hear mobile, we think about phones, but the reality is that the next phase of the internet has already begun, and that is in the form of wearables. I've already got my own smartwatch. I see more and more people wearing their smartwatches, and of course on screen we see Google Glass, which is something that not too many people in business are going to get caught dead wearing at a meeting table, but it's interesting nonetheless to know that we've entered this era of wearables. I mean, we're not far off having driverless cars. It's not inconceivable now that my grandmother's worst fear that we will have embedded chips is not far off. It's kind of interesting. We don't have to digress though and talk about Armageddon just yet, but we're talking mobile, we're talking wearables, we're talking about GPS locations, all sorts of interesting things happening in Google's world, and that's why the push towards mobile. 50% of users say they would not recommend a business with a poorly designed mobile website. 40% say that they have turned to the competitors' websites when they've had a bad mobile experience. And so I just wanted to share a story with you as I scan the chat window there too. I just wanted to share with you a story about a plumbing company that came to work with us as their marketing agency. We set up a very verbose ad campaign, started marketing them for basically for service calls, and in the first 30 days got very, very little response to the advertising, even though it's completely relevant. Their website was not mobile friendly, and it was missing a few key elements that I consider really important in terms of conversion. We did a really quick makeover of that website, converted it to mobile responsive so that it would be mobile friendly. We added in a couple of little, just really small conversion goals, and literally within a day or two of that new website being published, their phone started to ring, and it's been ringing ever since. You know, it's really important to acknowledge that the only change we really made to that website, it looked and felt on a desktop, it looked like exactly the same website, but on a mobile phone, it looked completely different. It became mobile friendly. It made it a lot easier for people to navigate with their fingers and click to dial, which is critically important if you're expecting people to call you from your mobile. Google wrote that at Google, we believe that now is the time to close the knowing versus doing gap. It is time to take action and not just do mobile, but do mobile right. And this is where Google's Playbook is going to come in really handy for you to really wrap your head around how mobile is impacting a lot of businesses. In particular, they focus a lot on retail businesses. Google wrote in their Playbook that over the past 2 years, smartphone adoption in the US has grown from 36% to 61%. They also said that, and tablet owners typically associated with high disposable income represent an increasingly mainstream demographic, which is very interesting. They talk a lot in the Google Playbook about people coming into retail environments and actually price shopping with their phone. So they can go on Amazon while they're standing in the future shops of the world, and they can actually compare pricing. And they're referring to this trend as showrooms or showrooming, where people are coming in and literally using the retail store as a showroom, but shopping online while they're at the store. Because they can, frankly, in a lot of cases, you can get a better deal. I found this quote when I was setting up my slides today. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. And the truth is that when I read this, it just made me think, yeah, that's exactly how we feel trying to keep up with Google. Google pretty much owns the internet now in terms of findability, and we do play our music to Google's fiddle. And so just know that if this findability thing is important to you, just know you're not the only one struggling with all of these changes. So let's go on now and talk about what is mobile friendly. And interestingly enough, when I search mobile, I find children's hanging toys, but so that's kind of an interesting search result. We're not going to talk about that kind of mobile, though. We're going to talk about website mobile. And Google Webmasters now, if your website is being set up properly and you have Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools connected to your website, you should have by now, if your website is not mobile friendly, you should have started receiving webmaster alerts saying fix mobile issues at your website. And so we started receiving these about 4 or 5 months ago, and they were kind of like early warning flares going off in the digital world. When Google actually starts sending you emails saying there's something wrong with your website and makes recommendations as to how you can fix it, it's an early warning. It's like honestly, this is like, I don't know, I don't want to digress, but it's kind of like early detection of a medical problem. Okay, this is like Google giving you a heads up. So if you didn't receive warnings, then that means that quite possibly your website is already mobile friendly, or that when your website was developed and launched, you didn't have Webmaster Tools connected to it, and you're missing out on a whole ton of data that Google will share with you about your website, and you should get it hooked up. So what's happening is that Google has announced that they're going to start considering mobile friendly as a ranking factor. On April 21st, this month, they're going to start pushing out this algorithm. Now, we don't always see the algorithm hit every search engine at exactly the same time. Okay, we'll see it roll out in .com first, then maybe .c next, and then they'll go through all the other different search engines. This is a massive update for them. And we need to be ready for it. Now, understand that if you're not ready for April 21st, it doesn't mean it's not the end of the world, but there are ramifications, and you should be making plans to get past that. So Google wrote, starting April 21st, we'll be expanding our use of mobile friendliness as a ranking signal. This change will affect mobile searches in all languages worldwide and will have a significant impact in our search results. Consequently, users will find it easier to get relevant, high-quality search results that are optimized for their device, and that's the key. Now, when you go on your mobile phone now and do a Google search, already you'll see in those search results the little word mobile friendly showing up beside the hyperlinks in those search results when you're on a mobile phone. Google has already been flagging search results that are mobile friendly. Now, presumably after April 21st or soon afterwards, those ones that are not flagged as mobile friendly will start getting lost. They won't show up, all right? Now, how does that translate to a business owner or a website owner? Here you go. Here is an example of a website that has in order, one, mobile visitors. 60.5% of the visitors to this website are on a mobile phone. Then 31% on a desktop, and then after that 8.27% on a tablet. So let's assume that maybe Google will consider a tablet being more like a desktop than a phone. So let's assume that this client's not going to lose that 8% of tablet users. They're still going to potentially, if their website was not user-friendly, or sorry, not mobile-friendly, they're going to lose 60.5% of their traffic. That's a huge amount of traffic. Now, we don't see this size or this amount of traffic on every single website. This website, incidentally, is a tattoo parlor. And so when you start, when I start connecting the product, the offer, if you would, at the website to the potential demographic range of the clients, then it makes sense that, there's a large amount of people on mobile phones. They, I think, probably fall more into the millennial category than into my age group. Now, having said that, when you have a retail location like a tattoo parlor, a great number of your inquiries online are going to be people looking at the last minute for your address, for a map, or for your phone number. And so it's important that you be ready for those people. Can you imagine if somebody's actually on their way to your business and they can't find you in their mobile phone search results? That's going to be bad for some retail businesses. Now, here's a more typical marketing website for a small business where you can see that 50% of the traffic is on is on desktop still, and then mobile 25% and tablets 23%. So it's interesting split, almost 50% on small devices. Really, really huge trend. And it's like we said earlier, that we've entered the era where people searching the internet are doing it more from mobile devices than desktops, and we're seeing that in the analytics, even for typical small businesses. So how do I know if my site is mobile friendly? There you go. There's a little shortened URL there. You write this down, yyc.tips/mobile. I've just created a shortened link so that you can go and test your website. And I'm going to show you, I'll show you the test results and how this all looks in just a minute. But there's that link for you, YYC Tips Mobile. And go ahead and write that down. I'll leave that on the screen for 2 seconds here. Now, I will mention that while you're writing that down, I closed the last poll. And so those poll results are there for you to see now. And so is your current website mobile friendly? 63% of the people on the line today said yes. Nobody said no. But 38, just under 40% said, I'm not sure, I don't know. And so those are the folks that are going to want to absolutely use this YYC Tips Mobile and check your website to see if it's mobile friendly. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push out the next poll. And I'll leave that screen up for you so you can write that down if you haven't had a chance to yet. So just 1 second. Okay, so next poll is up there now, so you can answer now, or you can wait until I make my way through a few slides, because I am going to teach you a little bit about what these different things are, and then you'll probably be able to answer more efficiently. But again, as you're answering, and I close the poll. Once I close the poll, everybody will be able to see the answers. They don't disclose who you are, but they do disclose what you voted, okay? So let's talk mobile friendly. So this is the test that I just shared with you at yyc.tips/mobile. This is a Google property. If you're not certain that your website is already mobile friendly, then you can go here, use Google's mobile friendly test, and it will return this beautiful, this is a great result, this beautiful green bar that says, awesome, this page is mobile friendly. And if you think your website is mobile friendly, it doesn't hurt to come here and test it anyways, because it does return below this screenshot, it does return a bunch of advice also. So you may be mobile friendly, for example, but the site might be loading really slowly, for example. And if you increase the speed of the site, again, another ranking factor, you might perform better. So if the theme has a responsive design, a simple test is to narrow the desktop also. So if you think your website is responsive, just simply take your web browser and click on the sides, squeeze it up so that your web browser is tall and narrow, and you'll see very clearly whether the website's responding. I'm going to show you an example in a minute of how that works. Here's an example of a Calgary restaurant, and their website was recently redeveloped to be responsive, and now is 100% mobile friendly, fits nicely on tablets. The menu changes dynamically to a finger-friendly menu. A couple things that I think are important about responsiveness too is when your website shrinks down and responds to those smaller devices, it's really important what stays at the top in the view space that people are actually seeing. So I refer that above the folder in the screen. And so you can see with the Halo site, a couple of things that are really important is, you know, their brand for sure, but then their menu, the reservation is their call to action, so reserve now. Their phone number is right up there. And it's really important that the phone number for mobile be text so that people can click to dial. So make sure as your website responds down that you're seeing all the important things on the full down. Now people will scroll down and see more, but let's make sure that the important call to actions and the phone number up top. So what options do you have? I think that you have 3 options, and I'm going to go through those here for you, and then I'll answer any questions and just take a look at that poll result and see where we're at. So 3 options. The first one is to do what's referred to as an adaptive website. And adaptive means basically that you have your regular, your current website that you've always had, and you leave it the way it is, and then you add in a secondary site tucked into a little directory, and we'll call it maybe mobile. And using a little browser detector or a little script on your old website, we can detect whether or not those people are using a small device. We can push them over to that other website. So they're 2 distinct websites, your big website and your small website, the mobile friendly website. And this is what we refer to as adaptive. Now, there are some pros and cons. The pro, it's really quite easy to set up. So if you don't have a mobile friendly website and you want to get something done before the April 21st rollout of the mobile friendly algorithm, then you can use an adaptive website. Maybe it's a good interim solution for you, and it can be set up and turned out really relatively quickly. There are some disadvantages though that I'll just bring to your attention. One huge disadvantage is that for the most part, when people are using adaptive websites like this, they're using services or software as a service, and they're going to pay anywhere from $10 to maybe $30, $40 per month, and they're going to pay that software as a service fee forever. And trust me, I could go on a rant about software as a service. I love the concept. I love having fresh, clean software code. All these things are phenomenal services, but if you adopt software as a service for something that needs to serve you long term, like a mobile website, after just a few years, you'd be $9, $10, $11, $1,200 worth of fees, at which point you might consider that it would be better to invest in actually having a properly developed responsive website. Okay. One of the other things I noticed when I was doing my research is a lot of these mobile sites they're not even hosted on the same domain name as the website, and I think that that's a mistake. So the mobile site has to have the same domain name as your main website. Otherwise, again, you're not optimizing or doing any favors for your own domain name. You're actually optimizing a services domain name. So I think these are important. Responsive development absolutely is the trend, and responsive means basically that the website is developed using all sorts of scripts, if you would, and the latest and greatest technology in terms of HTML5. And basically the website is designed so that you get one website that automatically scales down to fit nicely on a laptop, then on tablet, horizontal and vertical, and then also on right down to those small devices. And so responsive is, in my humble opinion, and in the humble opinion of many, including, I believe Google has actually written in their best practices that responsive is a good thing, then you got to know responsive is going to be the trend for the unforeseen future in terms of web development. So if you are due for a makeover or you're getting ready for a new website, then responsive is the way to go. Now I just want to show you, I told you earlier, open the website up on the big browser, squeeze the window down just by dragging the sides in, and you can actually see a responsive website changing. And you know, so here it's going back out. And one of the interesting things is as it responds down and gets narrower and narrower, you also see the menu change. I'll try to emphasize, see how the menu changes up here? And it's going to change right there now to a finger-friendly menu. And very, very good. This is nice. I use Starbucks as an example. They were one of the very first websites that I found online that was responsive, and so good on them. And the very last thing you can do with regard to your mobile options is you could do nothing. And I say this a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, it's not the right thing to do, but you can always go look at your webmaster tools, look at your Google Analytics, and if you find that the number of visitors to your website are so minuscule in terms of mobile users, then you don't have to panic. But I got to tell you, if you're that tattoo parlor and you're going to lose potentially 60% of the traffic to your website by not being mobile friendly, then you do need to panic. I think that you need to get on this. Don't wait for a second, because you're going to lose a ton of traffic, and that means potentially a ton of business. So I've closed that second poll. You can take a look at those poll results now. It looks like we have a very, very astute and on the ball audience today. Everybody has a responsive website, or some of you maybe haven't. Some of you maybe haven't answered, and that's all cool. When it comes to algorithm changes like this one that we're going to be experiencing very soon from Google, in the search engine optimization world or the search marketing world, the question is often asked, is this a punishment or is this a boost, like a positive ranking factor? And so that triggers a boost in organic position. For example, if you have well-written and unique content, you would get a boost in organic search. If your website loads super fast, we know that that's a positive ranking factor. You get a boost in search. On the other hand, some algorithmic updates punish websites. And so a lot of the algorithmic updates we've seen in the last couple of years, for example, punish websites that are over-optimized or websites that have too many keyword-rich links pointing at them. Those websites are getting punished. That's not a boost, it's a punishment. It doesn't affect people who are behaving appropriately. SEO Moz, a very popular website to do with search optimization, they wrote in an article that it's really not completely clear, but practically it doesn't matter that much, and the difference can be very difficult to measure. If everyone gets moved to the front of the line except you're still at the back of the line. And so Google has implied that this isn't a capital P punishment, that it is in sense a boost in their algorithm. So if you want to continue to perform in search, you need to be mobile friendly. And now you know some of the things you can do to do that. Here's the playbook link that I promised to give you. I really enjoyed this. I think not only is the playbook really full of very, very interesting information, but it's really a wicked cool website. So if you do nothing else, you just want to experience a really cool website, then go to the mobile playbook and read through this. I think that the people who run big retail stores and that, a lot of good information in here for you guys, and so have fun with that. I'll just put up my phone numbers here also, so you've got my phone numbers. And, my name is David West. I'm the founding partner of Cake Marketing, a digital marketing agency in Calgary. Cake is a Google partner, and we're very pleased of that accreditation from Google. If you have any questions about today's webinar, about going mobile, if you need any support, please do reach out, and we'll be happy to give you advice and coach you in the right direction. And so thanks everybody for joining us today.